Hello, Waterloo Region. You're listening to Meet the Candidate on CKMS-FM 102.7 Radio Waterloo. My name is Rob Deutschmann. In this episode, we meet Rob Deutschmann, the Liberal Party candidate for Cambridge. In Meet the Candidate, Radio Waterloo provides 25 minutes of free airtime to the Waterloo Region candidates running in the Ontario provincial election. This is not an interview, but 25 minutes of unstructured time. Candidates could tell you about their party platform, the local region issues they'll be tackling, why they're running, or what they do outside of politics. Note that the views expressed are not those of the Radio Waterloo Board of Directors, volunteers, sponsors, or advertisers. Now, let's meet the candidate, Rob Deutschmann.
Okay, hey. Hi there, Bob. Do I just keep going, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay, great. It's a little bit different than what I'm used to. I wasn't sure what was easier, an interview or just 25 minutes of straight airtime, so we'll see how it goes. First, I want to thank Bob and the radio station CKMS FM 102.7 for inviting the candidates to come on and have this opportunity to speak to the people of Waterloo Region about themselves and their platforms. It's sometimes difficult for candidates to have these opportunities to get sufficient airtime to outline party platforms and talk about themselves. And oftentimes we're more in the structured interview format, and sometimes that can be a little bit restrictive. So this is clearly unrestrictive. So hopefully you all won't find this to be too boring as I go through some of the stuff to talk about with respect to the campaign. First off, I'll just describe a little bit about myself and my background. My name is Rob Deutschmann. I was born and raised in Waterloo. I went to school at St. Louis Elementary School, Catholic school. Went to St. David's from grades 7 to 10. St. Jerome's High School, so just give you a bit of a flavor that I'm a creature of the region. Went to university at Laurier. My mom was too good to me, so I ended up staying at home for the 4 years. Never thought twice about moving out and got taken care of quite well. After university, I worked for 5 years and got married to a lovely lady by the name of Janice. She's from Trenton. Originally, we met at Laurier in business. We lived in Toronto for about a year, but then came back to KW. After working for 5 years, I decided that I would go to law school. I'm not sure that I was torturing her by making her the sole breadwinner, but she was kind enough to support us while I spent 3 years at law school, a year and a half of articling and getting ready. And then actually, interestingly, this Friday, Valentine's Day, will be my 30th year of practicing law. I opened my first practice in Kitchener on Frederick Street with a classmate of mine, Bruce Kelly. We were Deutschmann and Kelly for a number of years, and we were Deutschmann, Kelly, Paquette Travers, or Paquette Travers, Deutschmann, Kelly for a while, and then Paquette Travers, Deutschmann. So I've been practicing law for 30 years. For about 28 of those years, it's been pretty well exclusively personal injury law. So I only act for people that are hurt in accidents, people that are injured in accidents, mostly motor vehicle accidents, or people that have had disability benefits denied. So I'm a plaintiff personal injury lawyer. I refuse to act for insurance companies. I am quite frustrated in dealing with insurance companies on a day-to-day basis, as you can imagine. But I enjoy the good fight, and probably that's what's led me to politics. Before I get into that, though, during those 30 years of practice, I've also been a small businessman. At one point, we had a practice that consisted of 5 partners, 9 associate lawyers, 30 staff over 3 offices, and then after 10 years of practice, unfortunately, we went through a breakup. So you learn a lot from the trials and tribulations of life. Not everything is always smooth and go forward. Sometimes there are steps back. And I always feel that how you respond to those steps that take you back to move you forward really defines yourself and and it helps you learn what you're able to do and accomplish. So after that breakup, I decided I would keep my practice smaller. And so today we are 3 lawyers with about 9 or 10 staff in one office. on Kingsway Drive in the old Harley-Davidson showroom currently that we converted to our office and have been there since 2019, the year before COVID and the world shut down. But yeah, it's been a good run, and as a small businessman, I'm proud to say that I've never missed a payroll, and we've been successful every year. And lots of things you deal with as a small business person, from human resource issues, individual interactions, hiring, sometimes having to let people go, considering software integration into your business. Recently, we've had to explore the whole area of AI. So there's always lots of interesting things to do when you're a small business person, always wanting to make sure you're a step ahead of your competition or you're competitive with your competition. And then you can ensure that your business will continue to be successful, and the people that work for you can rely on the fact that they have a job, they have mortgages to pay, and kids to put through school. And so there's a added responsibility to ensure that your business will go well, so that you can take care of the people that put their trust in you and help you every day to make your business successful. And I'm proud to say that we've got a great team over there. And I've always been one that likes to rely on a team approach. I found that anytime you try to do something individually or on your own, it's much more difficult to achieve success. But I've always viewed partnerships as an opportunity to rely on the skill set and abilities of other people to become successful. Now, some years ago, my wife, coming from a small town, she grew up in Trenton, Ontario, in Eastern Ontario. We were living in Kitchener for a bit, and decided that she found a lovely old home in Ayr that she was really attracted to. So we ended up moving into Ayr in 1993, and we set up our home there. We've been there since December 1, 1993. I remember that day because our moving truck got caught in the Ayr Christmas parade at the time, and it took a little while to get out of that. Not too long, because it's not a big parade, but it was always a memorable entry into Ayr. And we've been there ever since. Raised 3 girls there. They're all in their mid to late 20s. I'm proud to say they're all taxpayers now. They're all independent on their own, and very proud of what they've been able to accomplish and the young ladies that they've turned out to be. All credit to my wife, of course. So that's a bit about my background, family, and business. So how did I get involved in politics? Interesting question. Politics was always something that was of interest to me. As a high school student, I met John Malloy, of all people, at a photocopier machine one day at St. Jerome's High School. And John happened to be photocopying a number of names on a list, and I was curious, and I asked him a question about what that was, and he said that was a list of names for a young Liberal club that they had in Kitchener. And so that conversation led to me becoming involved with John and some others locally in a young Liberal club, and that was back in like 1979. And ever since then, I've been involved in different capacities and at different levels of activity over the decades in various campaigns. But that really was my first entree, and so I guess I have John Malloy to blame for where I am today, partially anyway. Just kidding. So politics was always something of interest. I was president of the Ontario Young Liberals from 83 to 84, and then briefly again in 85 to help fill in a spot, and was able to spend actually a Wilfrid Laurier, I took business at Laurier, a co-op term in the co-op program up at the Hill in Ottawa for a summer back in 83, working for then Justice Minister Mark McGuigan for the summer. So it was a really fun time, getting to see the workings of government, and Ottawa in the summer is a great place to be for a young guy. But later on in life, my foray into politics really came out of community involvement. So when we moved to Ayr, and having been in Ayr for a period of time and playing hockey, recreational hockey, with the guys in a great Sunday night league that Ayr has had for several decades, it soon became apparent that we're playing in a very small arena. And so we started a community group that said, hey, we need a bigger rink here. And that group sort of got formed in 2005, 2004, late 2004, 2005. And through the efforts of that community group and working with our local council, we were successful as a community in raising over $2 million for this new community center, and eventually getting some provincial and federal funding. This was the post-2008 financial crisis when the federal government was putting together a program to support infrastructure projects like this. And so we were fortunate through then MP Gary Goodyear, who was our MP, was able to find us the funding and secure that, and working with our local township and the community, raised the sufficient enough money to actually build a beautiful rink, 1,500 seat or 1,000 seat capacity and about 500 standing. Also provided us with a medical center. We were working with the Langs Farm Medical Group then. Bill Davidson, who was a great leader of that organization, was involved. And we have a community hall, walking track, meeting spaces, and then in behind that, 2 full-size soccer fields, irrigated, a smaller size, 1 lit, spray pad, playground equipment, accessible. And now, since that time, they've added a beautiful skateboard facility as well, and a small walking trail around it. So it was a wonderful community project. And out of that community project and a desire to try to twin the pad after the fact, led me to eventually running for mayor, because we had a sort of a situation where there was a bit of a conflict between the council and the community. And out of that, I was successful. So I was mayor of North Dumfries Township from 2010 to 2014. And at the same time, was also a regional councillor, something I hadn't really thought about going into it. And maybe it was better I wasn't aware of that at the time, but it became a very busy time. Growing up, when you're involved in politics as a young man in high school and university, you're always looking at federal politics or provincial politics as something that you might aspire to try to do, and you never really give much thought to municipal politics. So my foray into municipal politics sort of was a meandering, roundabout thing that occurred sort of by happenstance. And I can tell you, though, that after having been involved in municipal politics, because most recently I was a regional councillor from 2022 to the current provincial campaign, being a municipal councillor, mayor or councillor, is a wonderful experience. It's eye-opening when you are elected and start to do the work, working with staff, working with the community, and it's eye-opening over the issues that you deal with at the local level. I often equate it with with other people. I say it's like when my children were young, they played a game called Sims. And that's I'll just describe it as, it's like a computer game where you're creating communities, buildings, and other things, cities or what have you. And so I say municipal politics is like real life Sims, because you're making decisions about where community centers will go, where roads are going to go, where subdivisions are going to go. You're building and creating your community. And those sorts of decisions are not decisions that are made at the provincial or federal level. Those are decisions that are made at the grassroots municipal level. And it amazes me now, after having been involved for 6 years on regional council, 4 years as a mayor. That's like 10 years, although 4 of them were overlap. I say that's sort of like dog years. When you're a mayor in Waterloo Region, you're also on regional council, so that's like 2 years for every one. After having done that, it amazes me the amount of work that is done, the different areas of responsibility that you have, from wastewater to garbage to roads, recreational, all sorts of things. It's almost like from the time you get up to the time you go to bed, whatever is out there, whatever you're doing, some aspect of your life is getting touched by municipal services, and even while you're sleeping. So it is a significant area and a wonderful experience. And for the most part, after my 4 years as a mayor and regional councilor, I couldn't really see myself jumping to any other level of government. And after 4 years, I stopped because my entry back in 2010 was largely focused on the community center that we were building, and I wanted to ensure that that community center, which was a major project, it was a transformative project for our community, I wanted to make sure that it was done correctly. I didn't feel that, and other members of our community didn't feel that things were happening properly. And so we got involved and were able to see that through successfully. And it has been a transformative project for our community. But after the 4 years, my view was I'm done. I've done what I wanted to do. Politics is not, for me, a career. It's more of a community passion. It's like anyone else out there who does important work in our community, whether it's assisting, bringing food to the homeless, loading trucks for the food bank, sorting food for the food bank. Anyone who's offering their time and volunteering and providing service in various organizations is providing to me the equivalent of whatever a municipal politician is doing, and probably even more so because you're actually out there doing the hard work that needs to get done. I always say that we can give money, which is of course important for many organizations, but at the same time, money doesn't make the sandwiches, money doesn't deliver the food, money doesn't sort the food. People do, and we need both. And over time, unfortunately, we've seen a decline in the level of volunteerism in our community, and hopefully that's something that can get course corrected, because many organizations need more people, and as the saying goes, many hands makes the load light, and we certainly do need more hands out there. So after my 4 years was done and I finished what I wanted to accomplish, I retired, we'll say, from politics and moved back full-time to my practice, and I was sort of working on my practice at the same time too, so I kind of had 3 jobs for a period of time. So I always say I was burning the candle at 3 ends. So, in 2018, I ran for regional chair. At that time, I felt there was an opportunity to, engage the community in a discussion. Ken Sealing, one of the great chairs, one of the great municipal politicians of our time, of our community, had retired. And I just wanted to make sure that we had a good community debate. This was 2018, so it was pre-COVID, and we certainly did have a lot of debates and opportunities to have good policy discussions about what's going on. Since COVID, we've lost that a lot, and I'll just digress for a second. I want to thank CKMS for providing this opportunity, because there are fewer and fewer opportunities for local politicians at any level to get out and engage with the community, although this is not really engaging, you're just listening to me drone on and on, but an opportunity for candidates to get out and talk about themselves, get to know them better, and also talk about their platforms, which I'll get into in a moment. So 2018 had a lot of opportunity to debate, and I wasn't successful. Karen Redmond won, but Karen Redmond's an excellent leader in our community, and she's done a tremendous work. 2022 came along, and I had some concerns then about the homelessness issue. I was concerned about how the region, from the outside anyway, was dealing with the homeless issue. We had bulldozers at Sterling and Charles. We had a lawsuit brought by the region against homeless people, and I just couldn't understand what was going on. So then I offered my name to run as a regional councillor from Kitchener, and I was successful. Came fourth out of however many, and the top 4 were councillors. And that was quite an eye-opening experience for me as well, because I had the benefit of being there 10 years ago, and then here I was back at regional council 10 years later to sort of see how things were progressing. And I had some issues with some of the budgeting issues. I had some concerns about police budget, and everyone's well aware of my position on that. It was well publicized. I felt that I had laid out my position well, and like every democracy, we have the discussion, we have the debate, we have the vote, and at the end of that vote, members of council, as per the code of conduct, and also for good functioning of a council, you have to stand behind the decision of council and move on. It's not anything dissimilar to when I'm in law and I have let's say a motion, and we have an argument with the other side. Opposing counsels appear in front of a judge. Each side lays out their positions. The judge makes a decision, and that's that, unless you decide to appeal it. But that's pretty well the decision. You move on to the next issue. So Sitting at the Horseshoe, though, I started to see that more and more of the provincial initiatives were falling at the municipal level. And there's a number of issues, a number of provincial and federal decisions that get made in our country, in our province. The fallout of those decisions, when there is fallout, lands on the streets of our community, okay, lands at our doorsteps. And now, as a municipal politician, you can't ignore when people are suffering hardship in our community. And if you have an opportunity to assist, then you have to step forward. But the idea as to where the issue initiated from, in several instances, it's because of provincial or federal policy. And I'll give you an example. International students, for example. International students are important. It's important that we open up our system to provide for international students to come to our country. But when the level of international students became too great, and let's not forget, this started with a provincial policy of the Ford government to reduce and then cap tuition fees at colleges and universities. Hey, sounds like a great thing, but any municipal politician or anyone who's budgeting or anyone who's running a business will tell you, I can't keep my rates the same for 6 years without suffering because all my expenses are going to go up. And what happened? We saw that while expenses were going up and people might say, oh, look at all the teachers or professors or what have you. Okay, that's an issue for a different discussion. But if you're going to allow the universities and colleges in order to be successful and financially successful, you have to allow them to be able to raise tuition fees. But if you don't do that, then what happens? We see the increase in the number of international students, and we saw that locally with our own Conestoga College, who is a leader in bringing over international students. International students come for an education, and for whatever information they're provided, it's clearly they're not provided with clear information as to the cost to live here. So now we have international students in our community who are competing for rental rooms, which bumps up the rate for rents. We have international students who are appearing now at food banks and community food tables, and it's difficult. And then at the regional or municipal level, we have to assist in providing for housing. We have to provide for other issues like sorry, I just got sidetracked for a second by Bob, but no problem. We have to provide for, we just recently we doubled our contribution to the food bank to assist them then. It's not all focused on international students, but that's one factor, and it's just pointing out how the municipal level becomes so important. During our budgeting process, we've identified those things that are provincial initiatives that are paid for by the local levy. And so that acronym is PILL, and it's coined by, I know Mayor Guthrie's used it in Guelph, the PIL, Provincial Initiatives Local Levy. And we found that in our community, a number of those issues were being covered by the local levy and the property tax base, which is not sufficient. And so that's one of the reasons why I decided to run, was to bring a better municipal experience and perspective at the provincial level and to deal with that issue and see if we can get a better funding model for municipalities from the province. I don't know, is this show done?
You're pretty much done, Rob. Thanks very much for coming in. You've been listening to Rob Deutschmann, the Liberal Party candidate for Cambridge on Meet the Candidate. Views expressed were those of the candidate, not those of Radio Waterloo, Board of Directors, volunteers, sponsored, or advertisers. All Waterloo Region candidates have been invited by email, but some candidates have declined to appear on the radio, and some have not responded at all. If you're a candidate and have missed the invitation, please contact me, Rob Deutschmann, by email at bob@radiowaterloo.ca. There's still some available time slots. Meet the Candidate airs every weekday at 9 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. until Tuesday the 25th of February, 2025 on CKMSFM 102.7 Radio Waterloo. Show notes, podcast, and video will be available shortly on the Radio Waterloo website at radiowaterloo.ca/MTC. The show is produced by me, Bob Jonkman, in the studio of CKMSFM. The theme music is Fallen Sky by Jason Shaw of Audionautics.com and used under a Creative Commons International 4.0 license. Attribution only.